Tyndall to the bench. New Zealander Tim Molinar starts in midfield, and the captaincy goes to Rory Lawson, who will partner Tim Taylor at halfback, preferred today to Nicky Robinson. There's a brand new front row with Wood, Azam and Paul Doran-Jones for the first time this season, back in harness together. In the second row, Dave Atwood starts alongside Jim Hamilton.
And Gloucester's selection would suggest a return to the traditional King's Home forwards-dominated style of play, and no one typifies this more than Azam. Adding to Gloucester's grunt up front, Atwood and Hamilton have very similar physical styles of play, and against the Wasps' weaker defensive line-out today could be the ideal time to try the new combination. And no real superstars in this back row, but full of physicality, hard work and honesty.
And into the backs, Rory Lawson is partnered today by the young, talented yet inexperienced Tim Taylor. He has the talent. Does he have the skill today? We'll find out. We're going to be looking at him closely. And in the centres, Eliota Fuima-Onu-Sapolo is a mouthful for any commentator, but I think he'll be a handful for the Wasps midfield today. And Tim Molinar, he's replaced skipper Mike Tyndall. That is going to be an interesting decision. The back three, Sharples needs to play like a fullback. He's on good form, but he needs to create space for the splendid Simpson Daniel. Vinocola may be in for a torrid afternoon against the pace of Leamy.
Students gathering at the West Country's University of Rugby. As much as things change, the shed never does. Wasps also without their regular captain today. Tom Rees has the afternoon off, so a penny for the thoughts of Phil Vickery as he prepares to lead out the visitors at a place he made his name and which he still loves. Alongside him, hooker Joe Ward starts for the first time this season. Burkitt, Betson and Ward-Smith are also primed from the off. And welcome back Joe Simpson, the scrum half, who may well have been an England player by now, but for last season's injuries, he marks his return.
And the experience of Vickery and Payne will be tested to the full today by the youthful enthusiasm of Wood and Doran-Jones. Expect the scrum to be a real battle line. And Simon Shaw faces the first real challenge to his England throne in the form of Atwood, as two of Martin Johnson's autumn international front jumpers go head-to-head. And when a team has a bad day defensively, you want to play against an opposition that will just try and run over the top of you. Gloucester will give Wasps that opportunity today to put in some big tackles, and these guys will be at the heart of it.
Joe Simpson is back from injury to replace Nick Berry. He's quick and will definitely threaten the Gloucester back row at scrum time. And there's Dave Walder, performed excellently last week against Leicester Tigers. They'll need his controlling influence today. Into the centres, Flutie and Waldock both have English aspirations and are great attacking players, but today they must first stop the Gloucester midfield, who are both much bigger than them. The game could be won and lost in the midfield battle. Van Gisbergen will be under pressure from the high balls and the screaming shed, and then the try-scoring machine of Tom Varndell. Can he get his hands on the ball? He needs one try to equal Josh Lucy's record and go sixth in the all-time holders in the Premiership. Let's hope he gets a hat-trick.
Okay, knock please. Wasps
on the walls here at King's Home. Dozens of pictures of players who only ever played for Gloucester. Dozens of one-club men. And for a while, it looked like that man would be amongst them. However, the earth shook when Phil Vickery left Gloucester for Wasps, and this afternoon he leads the visitors out at the place where he was worshipped. Only the second time he has ever walked out as a visitor. The first time he was here, he lost. .34 now, but still seemingly indestructible.
Thank you.
Well, the players are frustrated, the locals are restless. Now would seem like a very, very good time to kick their season into gear. And here's another man who's not used to walking out first, Scotland scrum half Rory Lawson, leading a team out who, no, they haven't done themselves justice so far this season. A very scratchy win here against Leeds a fortnight ago. All they have to show is now the time that Gloucester's season starts. You'll have loved playing here, Ben, in your Leicester days. It's just one of the great venues, isn't it? If we had bull rings in England, this place would be the top bull ring of them all.
Yeah, it was one of the first fixtures you looked for when the list was printed, and particularly for the warm-up and watching Austin get abuse as he warmed up was one of the best things for the heart and the best thing to get you going.
Interesting.
It was annoying that it was my own team that were abusing me. But looking at the Gloucester team, they just look intense, don't they? There's almost different body language today as they came out of that changing room.
Referee today is Andrew Small. Peter Huckle and Paul Dix have the flags. David Matthews is in our truck in the car park, poring over his video screen. And on the most picture-perfect West Country day, it's Gloucester against Wasps, and Tim Taylor has us underway, and the first take belongs to Richard Burkitt. At the club for over a decade now, and it's hard to escape the impression that, certainly in the backs, Wasps have picked pretty much their full-strength back line for this game, and the forwards as well, with so much to prove.
Backwards! Accidental offside, hit the red man coming through, scrum black.
The first scrum of the day will belong to Payne and Ward and Vickery and Shaw and Burkitt pushing behind, and this was an area a week ago that Gloucester struggled, but they've got Wood, Azam and Doran Jones back to shoulder things today.
Yeah, a much better scrummaging outfit up front for Gloucester. They're facing a pretty decent couple of props themselves.
Pause, engage.
It's been a feature of the Premiership so far, the free kick for the early engagement as clubs desperately try to get over. Little gain line at the scrum, but the ball from the fumble was taken on by Eliota Fuimana-Sapolu, the Samoan. Strokosh goes to ground. Lawson finds Deacon. Summer arrival from Leicester and already making a big impression here at Kingsholm. Taylor. Sapolu. Gathered by Betson.
Number 5, Smalley. Number 5, and 2.
Richard Burkitt has been penalised, it seems, and Gloucester will have the penalty.
2 roll clear. Too quick.
Joe Ward, who's been picked out by the referee Andrew Small for not rolling clear as well.
Yeah, Andrew Small stamping his authority on the game early. The initial free kick against Gloucester, I think, wasn't for an early engage, but an early shove. He's obviously seen the mess at the scrum from last week, wants to stamp his authority on the game early, and he's obviously not going to take any messing about at the breakdown as well.
That's the middle, gentleman. Hold there. Thank you.
Gloucester's days of topping the Premiership at the end of the regular season seem a long way off now. It's only a couple of seasons ago. The arrival of the likes of Jim Hamilton, though, will secure things, and a very, very confident take to begin with.
Yeah, great start for Jim Hamilton. He's not usually a guy that will call line-outs, though. He has done it successfully for Scotland before, but he's taken over from Alex Brown in that job today, and a great start, putting his hand up first and taking the ball.
Taylor, back to Fuimana-Sapolu. One of those centres who always seems to break the gain line, although Gloucester's move was held up by Paul Doran Jones coming in from the wrong side. But again, Fuimana-Sapolu always troubling the defence.
Yeah, that'll be a key for Gloucester today, getting themselves on the front foot with their 2 big centres. And you could also see, before the penalty was given, that the Gloucester forwards were looking to run off the next breakdown.
A little word in the ear of Paul Doran Jones from Andrew Small as the 2 cross paths. Burkitt just about gets enough fingertips on it to win it back for Wasps. Moved back inside to Waldock.
That's one. Release now, 2 red.
Finally Simpson to Walder. Ball taken forward by Joe Worsley. And Gisbergen cutting back inside. Wasps trying to establish themselves for the first time in this match. Looks like they've been turned over, though. They have, although illegally. Much to the disgust of the Shed. You would have thought Andrew Small would have known, really, because he's got the advice of 4,500 people behind him, and he still doesn't take it.
Yeah, sometimes when you played here, you always felt you got slightly more penalties on the other side of the pitch, but fair play to Andrew Small, not being intimidated there.
It's just back of it. Shot is called. Second Gloucester man's part of the tackle. He's got to release and go back on. Strip the ball before he went to the
Joe Ward carrying the ball in hard. He was hit back, which raised the Shed to their feet, and you can just see Simpson Daniel on the floor, push the ball back with his hands without getting back to his feet.
I think the point that Rory Lawson was making to the referee was that he thought Simpson Daniel stripped the ball on the way to making the tackle, but Small wasn't interested, and Dave Walder has the opportunity to put the visitors ahead. A high-quality all-round performance against Leicester. Cap with his 22 points, this for the lead. That's gone over. There is a devilish wind travelling from left to right as we watch. It's that northerly that the forecasters were warning us about this morning, and the ball travelled on that in a less than direct fashion, but it is 3 points, and Wasps are ahead early on.
And again, a split kick-off from Gloucester. They put their forwards either side.
Beautifully taken. Charlie Sharples is really making that job his own at the moment. What a restart by the Cherry and Whites. Sharp, really sharp. And they have the penalty. And it all came from an area of the game that's becoming such a feature.
One black offside, one black.
Yeah, great for Gloucester. I think they've had the upper hand in these first few minutes, and it was important that they got themselves back into the game and onto the scoreboard after Wasps had a penalty against the run of play. But Gloucester had split their forwards, which meant there was only one defensive pod for Wasps, and Sharples has been fantastic at that. He climbs so high, runs in behind the pod, and if they misjudge it, he's there to pick up the scraps.
Saw there also, though, that Jim Hamilton didn't look outside. He had Andy Hazel outside him. He could have offloaded. Hazel was under the posts.
And we're level almost immediately. Tim Taylor squares things up. It's Gloucester 3, Wasps 3, and we played 7.5 minutes.
I think it's a good tactic from Gloucester as well. I'm surprised more teams don't split the forwards on the kickoff, because what it means is the pod has to cover 50 metres of ground, or half the pitch of ground. Very difficult to move 3 people into position when you've got that much ground to cover.
Let's have a look at the Wasps restart. Not quite so successful. This is Fuimano Sapolo, rather flinging the ball back, but it was gathered in by Taylor. Van Gisbergen gives the ball away before he runs into Vinacolo, and then Varndell runs into a Cherry and White wall, but the ball's back on the black side.
Get behind the ball, Black! Behind it!
And to keep the punches at short range for the time being. Betson
Stay there.
with the initial burst forward. Now Walder might try to use that wind.
Onside!
Fuimano Sapolo was well positioned. This is Deacon, now Sharples.
Out to cut red, right out!
Better known as a winger. Used to chasing kicks like that in his day job, but from fullback he's making a real nuisance of himself as well, although on that occasion Wasps winning back possession. Flutie, Baldock outside, but this time it's Flutie in his left boot. And again, Fuimano Sapolo will bring it back.
Right out!
Taylor high above the Shed. Van Gisbergen had an age to set himself. Simpson, Worsley, Ward, taken on by Dan Ward-Smith, neatly from Shaw to Varndell, back to Shaw, who did just enough to keep his feet in play. Burkitt tackled on halfway. Simpson to Walder, Betson offering himself, and in the end Waldock did well to tidy up a less than sympathetic ball. Walder again, looking for David Lemmy. Lots of possession, but again, not a great deal of meterage forward.
No, yes.
Now Van Gisbergen over the top. Sharples scampers across, but the ball beats him into touch.
And Gloucester have just started with so much more purpose than they have in their last few games. Vinokola here has a real difficult job to take Shaw and Varndell. He gets his coverage spot on. Makes sure that Shaw can't go himself and then covers across, and against one of the quickest men in the Premiership. That's great defence from Vinokola.
Hamilton again, the target at the back of the line. Partner in crime, Dave Atwood comes in to smuggle the ball back to Lawson.
Inside.
Vinokola chases the ball. Varndell waits and flings it away rather optimistically. Van Gisbergen put in a hole that he would rather not have been in. Flutie sees the gap, goes for it. Oh, it's an important intervention from Atwood, just held on, and that forced the forward pass.
Atwood's cover there was sensational. One of the men with best feet in the game, Ricky Flutie, had him all ends up, and he managed to cover across. You see here at the kick, Shaw a mile offside, the referee misses that, and it meant that it wasn't quite as successful a kick. But Flutie is in acres of space, and for a big man, he has done fantastically well to get across and stop that attack.
It's the first time he's played here today for Wasps. Appeared once at Kingsholm for London Irish, but got very little change out of that one.
Nick, I've just spotted something actually. It's evident that you've got to get the ball in Vondell's hands. Now, if you look at Gloucester's defence here, they're numbered up. There's 3 guys there, which you'd think, OK, that's fair enough. But as we roll it on, Tom Varndell is the only guy you've got to think about. Look at all the space in front of him. That space, you get the ball to him quicker, and he's away. Vinokola will never get to him. You watch Simon Shaw there, though. He realises he's given the ball too late, and he tries to pull Vinokola back with his hand, but to no avail. They've got to get the ball in Vondell's hands quicker.
Crouch. Touch. Pause. Engage.
Lawson feeds the scrum, and again, the free kick awarded against Wasps.
Play on.
Lawson goes quickly. This is Atwood, runs beyond Worsley. Sharples takes the tackle. Lawson back to Strokosz.
Release him.
Into a combination of Burkitt and Worsley. Taylor, Fuimanu, Sapolo. This is Molinar. Now then, Hazel. Vinokola outside. Hung on to by Van Gisbergen. Hamilton tackled again by Burkitt, who's putting in his fair share of tackling at the moment. Simpson Daniel. Arcing into a gap that was very nearly there for him. Lawson to Wood. There's a real urgency and an intensity about Gloucester that we didn't really see at the Medeski last Sunday. Right up to the point they knocked the ball on, and Betson and Walder will affect the clearance, but it's much more encouraging from Gloucester.
Yeah, and you can just feel the whole shed and everywhere else at Kingsholm raising, and a weight of expectation and confidence surging through the Gloucester players.
Sharples again chases his own kick. The ball might bounce kindly for him. Oh, and just up too high to gather it as he came down, and
Stop, three, stop!
Walder with some relief, just happy to fly hat downfield.
I think a few of the bigger boys might be wanting the ball to go out of play in a minute. It has been so fast.
Fuimanis-Apollo, Vainikolo in support, as is Paul Doran-Jones, and Worsley hustling back, but the ball still Gloucester's. Almost their most impressive spell of the season so far. They scored 2 quick tries against Leeds here a fortnight ago, but they're starting to put it together again.
Yeah, outward offloading out of the back when it wasn't really on, and that'll really hurt Gloucester. They had great field position and an easy chance for Simpson to clear here.
Ball coming out of the sun. It's opened by Simpson Daniel.
2, release the man, thank you.
A season that perhaps offers him the final opportunity to play in a World Cup. Delicately threaded by Taylor.
Always inside, Pete.
Line out taken quickly.
No problem, Smalley.
Van Gisbergen and Lemmy combining.
Really sensible kick by Taylor. He'd gone down the blind side, met with a black wall, and he didn't try and take it on, he just pushed it in behind. Wasps take the quick throw in, kick it out, and Gloucester have got another great attacking opportunity.
There's a great saying, a bad kick can be made really good by chase. That was a good kick made really bad by a poor chase. Nobody chased up from Gloucester. Their energy levels seem to be sapped already.
Keep going, keep
It's
going.
been a fast and furious
Stay
start.
there, stay there.
15 minutes of high energy action, but just half a dozen points to show for it. Equally shared. Waldock and Van Gisbergen trying to release Varndale, who enjoyed himself as much as he has for a long time against Leicester last weekend. This is Flutie. Oh, that's brilliant defending from Rory Lawson. Made the tackle, won back the ball. Cherry and White's come away with it. What work that was from the scrum half and the man skippering the side today, though, Rory Lawson.
Brilliant. What you want. This is a good break. Vainikolo covers well again.
Take time, take time.
And as the ball goes down, Flutie finds a hole. Good strength to get through it. But Lawson, great hit, and then he doesn't finish with that. He goes for the ball and comes up with it. What you want from your 9 when you're playing in the forwards is someone who's an extra back rower when it comes to defence, and will do all the cover whenever a break's made. And that went above and beyond, and that will set the tone for the rest of the Gloucester players.
Dare say Grandad Bill, wherever he might be watching this, will have loved that moment from his grandson, who's captaining Gloucester today. Grandad Bill, of course,
Yeah,
Bill
fine,
McLaren.
as long as you come through the gate, no problem.
If I knew Bill, he'll be doing
And
his
don't
own
play
little
the scrum
commentary in his head, wherever he might be. He'd have done all of his preparation this week, he'd have done his notes.
Yeah, of course.
He'd have been there in spirit at the training sessions, and he'll be loving this match
That
as
was
much as we
13,
all.
gentlemen, 13, not rolling clear.
Well, he's been through the wars, hasn't he, Phil Vickery? You run out of superlatives for him, really. You also run out of paper when you're listing the injuries he's had. The ankle against Harlequins on the opening weekend, the latest, but he's still there giving
to
it
be honest,
everything.
I'm looking in
Yeah, and you worry whenever the physios are looking at his neck, because he has had problems there. It looks like he might have a little cut on the head, which they're treating now. So I think he probably got a fairly hefty bang into the nose or the face, which has just scrunched his neck down. It won't be anything too serious. Not much damage to be done up there.
Not much neck to scrunch.
Enough weight to carry. Yeah, good point.
Probably best not to say that in front of him, in fairness. We're 150 metres away, so it's quite safe.
Time is on.
It's been a furious start to this match. Just the 3 penalties. Walder first, and then Taylor.
Really important line out for Gloucester here. They lost their last line out, and it's going to be a key for them. Getting that front foot game is to be giving good ball to their centres to get forward to.
Best line outs in the Premiership so far this season, statistically, against the worst. Gloucester against Wasps, and the best one comes out on top there. Lawson quickly to Taylor. Fuimanis-Apollo, that was neat. Vainikolo on the loop.
He's on his feet, play on.
Lawson and Taylor beginning to link neatly. Hamilton continues to provide muscle as well. This is Azam.
He's let him go, no problem. Yes. fine.
Taylor, back to Fuimano Sapolo. Hamilton quickly back to Taylor.
Let it go, 3.
Hamilton again. Oh, he's been stripped of the ball by Simpson.
Carry back.
And Van Gisbergen clears from his own 22, and it bounces into touch. And again, Ben, great work, but it's falling down in the 22.
Yeah, Jim Hamilton's had a really good start to the game. He got turned over there on that last one, but he's making good decisions as to when to pass and when to carry the ball himself. A good little offload there, and look at the yardage that's gained off the back of it. Really good. Ball comes back out, and he stood in midfield waiting for the ball after Brett Deacon carries up. And again, another little offload.
King's home debut in front of the Shed today after starting at the Medeski. Straight replacement really for Marco Bortolami, who has gone back to Italy, and some replacement. A couple of years up with Edinburgh, but now back in the Premiership.
Yeah, I think a cracking signing. Obviously spent a lot of time with him at Leicester, and he's one of those guys that will do everything he can in games to go forward. And if there was a criticism of Bortolami here, he didn't have that edge. Hamilton certainly will provide a bit of edge to the Gloucester pack, which has been struggling over the first few
Hold the
games.
space, Black, hold the space. Thank you.
Tim Taylor's back on his feet. Dave Atwood is very much off his and higher than anybody else to gather the line out. Great signing for Atwood as well, you would have thought. Somebody with the nous of Hamilton coming in and really starting to show him the ropes.
An interesting drive here. I don't know whether the ball got dropped, but it's turned into a scrum.
Wilson's half charge down clearance falls into the arms of Tom Varndale. Simpson to Walder to Flutie. Van Gisbergen popping up. He's got Waldock outside. Lemmy waits with anticipation, but Waldock decided to take the ball on himself. Flutie launches them again. Betson to Shaw. Lovely stuff from Shaw to Worsley. Ward, all of the forwards linking up magnificently, and then it was the scrum halves pass who let things down. The fury of Gloucester trying to win that ball back, and the fury provoking the penalty from Wasps as they flew over the top.
Protecting the ball.
I'm not 100% sure whether I think the referees missed what Varndale did, but I think that was the first penalty. Varndale came flying in onto Vinocola, off the ball,
Same
from the side.
On the 5.
I've noticed over the first few games that Varndale likes to stamp his authority on his opposite number. He sometimes was accused of being a little bit lightweight and not liking the rough stuff, and certainly in the 2 games we've covered, there have been moments where he's gone for his opposite number off the ball, and there's no way he's come in from the back foot there. Blatant penalty, and he blindsided Vinocola. Probably not the sort of person you want to blindside. Be looking for revenge later on.
Well, that's the only way to hit him, isn't it?
Sure, that was what was intended. I'll have a look at Ben Kay, who's been in that position more often. What do you reckon?
Black.
Just a bit of pressure on Gloucester's line out at the moment. They will miss Alex Brown. He's such a good line out exponent. But it's been a pretty good start by the 2 second rows.
Yes, Alex Brown's on the bench today to make his 199th Premiership appearance. For the time being, it's Atwood and Hamilton, and they were looking for Hazel on that occasion, and this time another penalty against the Gloucester scrum. Paul Doran-Jones has been picked out, and it's an area that infuriated Gloucester last weekend, and Brian Redpath actually received an apology from the RFU this week after conceding, I think it was 10 penalties at the scrum in that situation, 19 in all, and the RFU admitted that they probably got it wrong, but they were penalised again there, and they're going to have to do some defending deep inside their own 22. Busy afternoon, of course, around the Aviva Premiership. Update from the Rec. First match to kick off this afternoon, and the home side with an early advantage against the Sharks. gathered in by Burkitt. It's a good contest, the line out at the moment.
Yeah, really good. Even though Wasps are winning good clean ball, they're under pressure every time they go up, and as the players get tired, that might start to pay off for Gloucester.
It's an area that Wasps have put more work into over the last couple of years since the arrival of Trevor Woodman, and there's oh my goodness me, Deacon going 3 rounds with Tim Payne. The referee stepped in, and I think the judges are going to have to decide who won that one, but that was pretty spectacular, and we would like to know what started it.
Dixie, what have you got? Yes. Yes.
One black.
Yes.
Reckless use of the foot.
Yes.
The lower leg of a Gloucester player on the ground.
Yes.
Then led to the flashing flare.
Right. So the first infringement is by
Tim Payne.
one. Right. So he's going to the bin for reckless use of the boot.
Correct.
8 red fighting, also going to the bin for fighting.
Okay.
Thank you very much. 1 and 8.
I think they're both going to have a 10-minute breather.
Original penalty is against you. Use reckless use of the boot. It's a yellow card for you. You then reacted, thrown several punches, yellow card for you. Original penalty is here, it's theirs.
That was a decent scrap there wasn't it?
It is, it's a tough one though, and when a referee says to you, you've thrown several punches, if you throw a punch, surely you should get sent off. I know it's a retaliation, but he stamps on him as well. It's
Yeah,
No,
I think Deacon's been fairly lucky there.
Thank you.
He's a tough player, and if there's one person you don't want to get into a scrap with, as I've learned from countless scars on my face from the Oval Park training ground, it's Brett Deacon. But he's got to control that temper.
Okay. Fair point.
As Austin said, he could be quite lucky to have just got away with 10 minutes there.
Line-out's been lost. It's been stolen by Burkitt. Gloucester cutting it and losing it. And this is Flutie with both packs short of a player at the moment. Wasps in the front row, Gloucester in the back. Chipped over by Van Gisbergen. Lemmy's chasing it, and Lawson is again there and skippering the side today. Rory Lawson, he's barely put a foot wrong.
I think the twin sin binnings might have an impact on this game, because it's been so open and fast, but there's just at the last minute the defence has been too good. You take away a player and suddenly Varndale's got a bit more space on his wing. Simpson Daniels and Sharples have got a bit more space on their side.
There's David Lemmy.
Thank you.
Fabulous try at Adams Park to secure the win against Gloucester last season.
Line out's over.
Ward with the line out. That's lovely to Dan Ward-Smith.
That's some more.
Arced into the arms of the number 8.
That's 1. That's 1.
This is encouraging for the visitors.
Use it.
Simpson now has to light the fuse. Walder drop goal. And the roars of delight will tell you that it was not on target.
Dixie, is that the same ball? Oh, yes. Thank you, mate.
Gloucester protecting the Premiership's longest unbeaten home run, which might surprise one or two of you. Not lost here at Kingsholm since last October, and they were walloped by Wasps. And the theme in the build-up this week has been very much of payback, and they're giving as good as they're getting at the moment. It's 3 each as Van Gisbergen launches his Gloucester Cathedral steepler.
Release it.
Taken
Stay
by
there.
Taylor.
It was a good take as well, because Van Gisbergen had put a screw kick up, which means as the ball comes down, it spins on a wider and wider angle, makes it much more difficult to take than a ball that just goes end over end like the traditional up and under.
Run. Stay.
This is Strokosh. Another willing stoker of the Gloucester Fires. Molinar almost broke through.
Thanks, 7.
Lawson puts the ball under the challenge of Burkitt, and Walder has to scuttle back, which he does to good effect.
Outside, stay there.
Van
Black.
Gisbergen outside of his 22. So just happy to pump it long. Sharples to Taylor.
Inside, Pete. Inside. 2, stop! 2!
That's a decent kick. Once again, though, Wasps aren't hanging around with the lineouts. Simpson, with the benefit of the breeze, it might be too much of a benefit. It's going to be all the way back, I think.
Ball was still rolling. Ball was still rolling and foot was out.
And we are going to go all the way back. And Andrew Small's able to make the decision with the help of Peter Huckle, the touch judge on the far side.
Yeah, they were just checking that the ball was still rolling. There's been quite a big fuss about players standing with a foot out and picking up the ball and getting the benefit from it. And I think the referee's directive has come in that the ball, they must check that the ball's still rolling.
So Saturday at King's Home today. Tomorrow on ESPN HD. We're back at the Vicarage.
7.
Saracens against the Saints.
Nothing puts you
What a
onside
match that
here.
promises to be.
You
A
have
little
to
bit of
stop.
needle between those two sides.
Doesn't matter. You have to stop, yes.
A replacement in the front row because
No.
we've lost Tim Payne to the sin bin. So that man, Charlie Beach, the 23-year-old, comes off the bench for his first appearance of the season.
Approach. Touch. Pause. Engage.
Also, Molinar, the centre, has gone onto the flank to help protect Gloucester's ball, protect the scrum.
Wants to have the penalty. This is Sharples, Simpson, Daniel, and the ball was just behind him. And they'll come back for the penalty in front of the posts. Slimmed down James Simpson Daniel these days. He thought he was just a little bit bulky last season, lost a little bit of pace, so like plenty of the Gloucester players actually, they've been busy running rather than on the weights over the summer, and they've all lost a little bit of poundage.
I think that's a key shift, though, isn't it, in how people are training now? They spent maybe 3 or 4 years trying to bulk up and realise that rugby is about running and how well you are, how good you are on your feet, how quickly you can move your bulk around. Andrew Sheridan, I believe, has stopped doing as many weights, and he's working a lot more on footwork and getting around the field.
Oh, he kept it low, but the direction was perfect. And Gloucester are ahead for the first time.
And when you do your weights, it's not all about bench press anymore, the traditional lifting techniques. A lot of it is game-specific stuff. So a lot of the props will do stuff that replicate scrummaging. The second rows, will, instead of doing heavy squats, will be pushing really heavy sleds. And it's all about training for how you're going to play rather than just to make yourself big.
That's a great take by Hamilton under lots and lots of pressure.
He's the tackler, play on!
It'd be interesting as a breakdown to see how much time percentagely teams spend on various aspects of the game during the build-up to the week, but more and more time is being spent on that aspect, the restart, and to good effect. Lawson, ball held up in the wind as Lemmy challenges for it, challenges Hazel, and it comes back on the Wasp side, picked up by Worsley. There's Lemmy again.
No, 6-0.
Really made his name in this country down the road at Bristol, but now very much a Wasps, and Walder was shuttled towards touch by Fuimanu Sapolu, but he managed to dispatch the ball in the meantime. Simpson to Shaw. At the old age of 37 now, Simon Shaw.
9 leaves the ball.
That small break there was a sign why Dave Walder isn't in the England squad. Give him a couple more yards pace and he's almost a complete package, but he saw the half gap and tried to turn the accelerator on, couldn't quite go through it.
Rescued by Ward. Vickery to Shaw. Still going.
Backwards play.
Vickery against his old mates. Simpson to Ward.
Release tackle.
Their opportunity to get a go from the start. Not the first time the penalty's been conceded in the tackle. Now then, big overlap here. If Simpson-Daniel can cotton onto it, they might yet. Simpson-Daniel, if he can gather, and the penalty's been given for the shove. And the try's been scored by Taylor, but we all know that we're coming back for the penalty. Oh, that will take some re-watching.
Push on the player, push.
Okay, no need for
I think this just looks really bad. Lemmy puts the brakes on, and Simpson-Daniel's travelling at full tilt. Quite cunning by Lemmy there to stop and almost force Simpson-Daniel to run into the back of him. It did look bad, but I'm not sure it was clear-cut as the referee made out.
And just to help the Shed confirm their original impressions, we brought the big screen down with us today, which Andrew Small will be thrilled about because they were just getting a big replay of that.
You can take up all the space you like.
And, well, they were a little bit unlucky, I think. Now, how's the line-out going?
Well, you can see that Wasps are having a much better day of it. What it doesn't tell us is the quality of the ball.
Flutie skipping away from the attempted tackle of Fuimana Sapolu. Simpson. Ward Smith. Ward Smith's gone. He is quick. The line is beckoning, and he's already celebrating. First try of the day to the dumper truck that is Dan Ward Smith. And Wasps retake the lead.
Dan Ward Smith back. We saw him do that for Bristol so many times. Got him into the England squad, then he had that horrific knee injury. But the strength of the man through contact is supreme. And here takes two tacklers. They almost bounce each other out of the way. If one of them had gone for him, they might have done better. But take nothing away from Ward Smith. Look at the leg drive through the contact. The slight fend, and then he's got good gas to go away. Great try.
Version is a simple one right in front of the posts.
All done, Dino. Thanks, mate.
7-8 metres out, he knew there was nothing in his way. First start of the season for the former Bristol Marauder, and he's marked it with a try.
We finally got one try just as the sin bin was coming to an end. Tim Payne back on the pitch, Brett Deacon back on the pitch, 15 all.
Richard Burkitt, who
outside the 22.
whose hands have been sure so far today. For once they let him down. It was his knock on, and it'll be Gloucester's scrum in a useful attacking position.
Outside.
And important for Gloucester. It had been so even. They started much the brighter of the two teams. Wasps came back into it, and they'll have been heartbroken to give away what they'll consider as a soft try, letting a man through two tacklers. So really important they stamp their authority back on this game now with this scrum.
Touch. Pause. Engage.
It was a scrum that was always just holding on, you suspected, but Gloucester get the ball back, and this is Simpson-Daniel. Taylor to Molinar, another one of those players who's slimmed down. He's lost 2 stones in the course of the last 12 months, but he's still a battering ram. Not sure how much Big Les has lost, but he's lost the ball, most importantly, in that instance. Strokosh to Hamilton. Lawson to Taylor. Fuimana Sapolu. Gloucester fired by the scoreboard because they played so much better today. Still areas that they need to tighten up on, but they're creating opportunities. This is Molinar again.
Keep going.
From a Nottingham man who arrived at the start of last season.
Hey.
Tackle by Black on the ground.
Something on the far side that the Shed heads weren't too happy with.
I believe number 4.
I think the penalty is coming, the advantage still being played.
I think Simon Shaw messing about with the ball on the ground, trying to slow it down. Knew Wasps were on the back foot, and Gloucester had some real momentum. And the referee's assistant just letting the referee know that Shaw had slowed the ball down illegally.
20 years now since his debut for
Number
Bristol.
4, pulling in.
On the ground.
Still
And he was
playing
on the
at
ground,
37.
No,
37
your man
for
went like
goodness
an
sake, Ben.
exorcist all over the ball. Hold on. No.
You've retired and you've not reached your 30s yet.
Correct.
When you play in such a soft position and in such a soft way, it's believable.
Yeah.
He's right in the heart of everything still, isn't he?
Thanks,
Body
Mike.
takes a massive pounding
that's
every
fine.
year, and he still keeps coming back for more.
Exactly.
And this is Tim Taylor to trim the deficit to just 1. He was on loan from Nottingham in January as cover for the departing Carlos Spencer, and performed so well they gave him the contract. And it's 3 from 3 from the left boot of Taylor. Gloucester 9, Wasps 10. It's another Premiership ding-dong.
They're good behind you when you're ready.
Dave Atwood shielding his eyes from the sun and the wind. All the elements are with Wasps in this first half. And unlike a week ago where they turned around with a big deficit to claw back against Leicester, they'll wonder whether this is enough against Gloucester. And that's another mighty, mighty clearance from Taylor, who's actually limping. He gave that ball so much.
He's had a very composed first half, hasn't he? He's kicked all of his penalties. He's distributed well. He's mixed his game up. He's made a few half breaks. He's missed a couple of tackles, but that's probably the only criticism you can give. And he's had a very rounded half. Very impressive.
Nicky Robinson on the bench today. Young Freddie Byrne still isn't fit, but he's going to be a very handy option as the season wears on. But Taylor's doing very well, as is Hamilton. Continues to have a big game. Hazel to that man Taylor. Fuimanu Sapolu gathers 3 tacklers, and he's still on. And Fuimanu Sapolu will score one of the great individual tries at the start of the season. No one wanted to tackle him. Fuimanu Sapolu said, "I'll score the try." That was something.
Yeah, good footwork, show and go, they all hang off him. Hans van Delaway, Waldock, who is a strong, strong centre, just brushed to the floor. And it was all about getting his defenders off balance with his footwork first, and then he had the power to push his way through. That is a fantastic score. And Wasps have picked a backline that are going to run through people. They've been criticised for trying to run around people, and they're having a bit of success.
He doesn't score too many Premiership tries. He likes to think of himself more of a creator than a finisher. But approaching half-time, that will be one of the best. And Taylor can do nothing wrong either. And Gloucester lead by half a dozen, and don't the Shed love it.
I think it was crucial for Gloucester to get some decent points as well, having played so well in comparison to their first 3 games. To get that try and get them rolling before half-time so they can go in with a bit of confidence at the break. And what a way to do it.
It was almost as if all the other backs were expecting someone else to tackle him. 3 players ran past him. Flutie, Waldock, Tom Vondel could have had a crack at him, and they don't left him alone.
Backwards!
It was a great individual score.
Stop. Thank you.
We will dissect that one at half-time, make no
Right
mistake.
forward, hold! Onside! It's inside.
Taylor from the sanctuary of his own 22 again goes long. To check to see if the wind's changed direction, because Gloucester are making enormous meterage seemingly against it. Simpson. This is Walder. Flutie. Waldock. There's Dan Ward-Smith outside, the try scorer.
Another great tackle by Sapolo. He's having a fantastic first half.
Worsley takes on Hazel. Walder over the head of Lemmy, bouncing in front of Ward, picked up eventually by the two of them. This is Van Gisbergen. There's just an intensity about Gloucester in almost everything they do, and at the moment in their defence.
Yeah, well, Austin was in the shed before the game, and all they were saying was they wanted more passion from their team. And Charlie Sharple's typifying it with a huge hit. And everyone is tackling their heart out. Azam is around the pitch, he's everywhere. Hamilton's around the pitch. They're all getting back, making tackles they might not usually make. And the passion is back with Gloucester in this first half. They can continue with that in the second half. Wasps are going to find it very difficult.
Crouch. Touch. Pause. Engage.
Blue 3 released bind.
He slipped, and so did he. Hey, hey, hey.
Good to see a smile on the face of the Frenchman, Azam. He didn't have a smile on his face last weekend. He was watching the match on telly with us.
Pause.
He was breaking lots of things, apparently. The frustration of Sunday has been replaced by a much, much better first 40 minutes.
Yeah,
Gloucester will have the penalty.
Gloucester really getting the upper hand in the scrum in these last few minutes. They've got two of the best scrummaging second rows behind a really good front row. And the pressure, you can see that the Wasp players, the Wasp front row's hinging and just going straight to ground, and that's what that penalty was for. They're under a massive amount of pressure.
Right there.
And why not? After the half that Tim Taylor's got, despite the fact that it's against a capricious north wind and it's from all of 4 miles, he thinks that it might just be my afternoon and it will be the last act of the match. Wasps might think they could gather and go back and score at the other end, but what about those penalties?
Yeah, the intensity of the way Gloucester have played have just forced Wasps into making some unforced penalties, discipline issues. When you're on the back foot, you give away far more penalties than when you've got the upper hand.
And I just think Martin Johnson will be watching at home on his green leather couch with some popcorn. If Tim Taylor kicks this from 55, 60 metres, you may as well pick him for the Autumn Internationals.
No. No! Well, that would have just been incredible. And I think Wasps, with some relief, via Varndell, kicked the ball into touch to bring an end to a thoroughly entertaining first 40 minutes and the best 40 minutes of the season so far for Gloucester.
Yeah, it was a brilliant game because Gloucester started the better, Wasps came back into it and played the better in the middle period, and then Gloucester finished off. So it's a great battle, and if the second half is the same, we're in for a real treat.
Gloucester player, of course, back at his old stomping ground, but for the other side, as Wasps forward coach. Well, Joe, it's been an exciting first half from a spectator's point of view. It's been fast, it's been physical. The scoreline, a pretty fair reflection of proceedings?
Yeah, it probably is, to be fair. You know, it's sloppy last 5-10 minutes of that first half, which, you know, gave them a very easy try. So we just got to eradicate some of those errors, and we just got to make sure we get back on top, especially in the set piece.
Yeah, you mentioned the leakage of that late try in the first half there. How disappointing was that, bearing in mind you sucked up so much pressure, didn't you, in the first 25?
Yeah, we're creating a lot of pressure. We're finding a lot of holes in their defence, but we're just not letting... We're letting go of the ball too much once we get into their 22. So, you know, it was disappointing because, you know, we'd hoped to have come in, you know, with a bit more of a lead then, rather than being 6-7 points down.
Trevor, thanks for your time. Good luck second half. OK, back we go to the commentators.
Thanks, Sarah. And there's the big news at half-time. Gloucester have made a change at fly half. Tim Taylor, who was almost nigh on immaculate in that first 40 minutes. We can only assume he's injured. We'll get Sarah to chase that down on the benches, but Nicky Robinson is on at the start of the second half. He was dropped to the bench after the defeat against London Irish. We talked about it at the time, and this was the kick that we mentioned at the time, Ben. It was a monster kick from Taylor, but as soon as he hit it, he then started to limp.
Yeah, as he landed, he didn't want to put weight on that foot, and we saw him chasing after, well, not chasing after, going to the next line out and really limping. It's obviously had an effect on him.
Wasps were a dozen points down against Leicester last weekend. They will think 6 is nothing.
Yeah, we can go, Dino.
Leicester didn't score a point in the second 40 minutes at Adams Park. That'll be the aim here at Kingsholm. Taken in by Tim Molinar. We were saying at half-time, Benarada, you were, what a great half Molinar had.
Carried back, stop,
he has it, and the talk from around Kingsholm is he had a fantastic pre-season as well. As did Tim Taylor, and they've had their chance today, and so far they've taken it. But this man's got a big job now, Nicky Robinson, to fill in. Taylor had a great control in the first half, and Robinson's got to do the same.
It's not started particularly well because it's gone.
That's the middle, gents. Big step, please.
All the way out. The Wasps have this early attacking line out. We're looking for Dan Ward-Smith and they've lost it. Picked up by Wood. Charges around the corner. Robinson brings the ball to Molinar. Charlie Sharple's tackled by Waldock. Azan to Lawson. This is Atwood. Robinson again. Where's this second kick going? Oh, that's perfect. Van Gisbergen right in the corner of uncertainty, and he fluffed his lines.
A good controlled play by Gloucester. Robinson leading that. They used their forwards effectively. Atwood ran a fantastic line out,
Step, please,
getting an extra couple of yards. Couple of forward runs and then nothing on, so it's pinned Wasp down into their own half, own 5 metre line.
One again by Hamilton.
Obstruction, number 3 in front of the ball carrier.
But Paul Doran-Jones has given away the penalty, and we heard why. Yeah,
that's that new directive or reinforced directive that the lifters can't block the defending players at the line out to start a drive. You can't lift and then put your man out and step behind and block Wasps getting to Jim Hamilton.
See if we can see it here then.
So 3 there, Doran-Jones, that's who the penalty's against, and as he lands he goes straight across the line, puts Hamilton out of the line, and it's really difficult for the players. But it's something the referees are going to be hot on this year.
Ward-Smith again, winning possession at the line-out. Walder, little chip over the top, looking for Flutie. Fabulously taken by Tim Molinar.
He's out.
Both players, both sets of players flying over the top. And in the end, Andrew Small's patience runs out on Wasps.
12 was fine, 2 straight in. You are in front of the ball carrier. Doesn't matter whether you're the lifter or not, get behind the man.
Great cover by Molinar. Flutie was all over him. Waldock comes in, he's okay, he stays on his feet and just keeps driving forward. But Ward comes in from the side and just goes straight down. That's who the penalty was against, number 2.
The referee gave Gloucester a long time to play the ball there at the breakdown. I think it's a tough interpretation. They are certainly giving the attacking side more time, but there has to be a limit on how long you get.
Meant for Hamilton. Via Deacon, it comes back on the Gloucester side. This is Robinson. Tackled by Walder. Penalty Wasps.
No need for it. Stay up over the ball. No need.
I think that penalty was probably against Hazel. As he got to the breakdown, just sealed off the ball, stayed with his hands on top of his own man, and it meant that the Wasp players, had they chosen to, couldn't have gone for the ball, but as the referee explained, there was no need to, because none of the Wasp players were going for the ball.
That's another lovely kick from Dave Walder.
If you're going to, here's Robinson taking the ball in, and you see Hazel come in, goes straight over the wall and just stays there. If he'd struggled to get to his feet and scrabbled forward, he would have got away with that.
Scrum half. Thank you.
Or at least stay on your feet. Take the stride over, but as soon as you go to ground, you're gonna ask for trouble.
Yeah, but sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes you will go to floor, and you've got to pop straight back up, and you'll get away with it.
This is Tim Payne, who had a 10-minute breather in the first half after a bout of fisticuffs with Brett Deacon. Ward-Smith, the try scorer. Seems to think they might have won this back.
Hands away now, 8.
They thought wrong. Simpson to Walder. This is Flutie coming in from a testing angle, linking up with Waldock. Not really seen much between Flutie and Waldock so far. Two fine players, but they haven't gelled in this match so far.
Stay there.
Burkitt.
No 2, leave it 5.
Precisely no meters whatsoever, but Wasps still have the ball. Lemmy. There's a little hint of anticipation when little David Lemmy has the ball in his mitts.
9 red on his feet, all rights to the ball.
And Lawson again showing his defensive capabilities. Robinson unlucky, he'd seen a lot of space in behind. The Wasps hadn't covered, they were listening to why the penalty had been given. But Lawson again acting as that extra back rower, competing hard at the breakdown and turning over Wasps. Had the man on the floor not held onto the ball.
Rory Lawson is enjoying himself this afternoon, pressing for a place in Scotland's team, which kicks off the Autumn Internationals against the All Blacks at Murrayfield in November. This is Robinson, who hasn't played for Wales, I think, since he came to Gloucester from Cardiff.
That's right. Yeah, sure. I'll stay here. Yep. Get him in, Glos, thank you.
Deacon.
Force the tackle, no problem.
Stay there, stay there. Fascinating area of confrontation in this match so far.
Well, a sensible option by Gloucester. They put an extra dummy in, which just meant that Shaw had landed, and Azam didn't have to loop the ball over the top, which is where he struggled throwing to Hamilton in the last line-out. Good sensible play by Hamilton, calling the line-outs there.
Not the 9, not the 9.
Here's Hamilton running into Worsley over halfway.
You're fine, mate.
Taken on by Nick Wood, 149th appearance today. Counter-rocking from Wasps. Again drew the error from Gloucester, and how many players have been penalised in the opening few minutes of this second half for just falling off their feet over the ball.
Captain, please, Wasps.
It's preempted a lecture from Andrew
First
Small.
half
And
we had lots of quick ball, I didn't need to get involved. We've already had 4 penalties for either players in the side or not rolling clear, sealing off on your own ball. I want the ball clear, I want tacklers out of the road, I want support players on their feet. Go and talk to them, please. Yep, he's got a minute as well.
Yeah, just the importance of keeping your support players on your feet.
Thank you very much.
Both captains asked to remind their players. Gloucester just did 1 too many pick and goes here. Azam picks again, and he had not enough support with him. He got knocked backwards. Hamilton falls off his feet. Doran Jones has to come in over the top.
5 red, sealing. Time is on, mate.
Ball should have just gone to the backs there, I think, Oz.
Ball should always go to the backs, Ben. It's the whole point of rugby. Well, that's why you're seeing so many penalties, because the forwards are picking up and going around the corner into brick walls. The competition at the breakdown is far higher in this game than we've seen in previous games.
the result is this long-range attempt from Dave Walder. Career that's been intertwined with those of Johnny and Danny, unfortunately for him, Wilkinson and Cipriani, but trying to make this shirt his own. I think you'd care to watch that again. Line out taken quickly by Van Gisbergen, back to Walder. That's a better kick. Robinson inside his own 22. So if he wants to, he can kick the ball out on the full, which is precisely what he does.
Well, not only that, he kicks the ball into the stand. Last time it was a great kick, and Van Gisbergen fielded it as it went out, took the quick penalty, took the quick line out, because Wasps' line out is starting to feel a little bit under pressure. So Robinson kicks into the stand, can't have a quick throw in. And Gloucester will be able to put the Wasps' line out under a bit of pressure, so they cut to a 5-man, try and take some of the defenders away.
Burkitt trying to work so hard, but winning the ball back. pressurising Simpson, who cleared. This is Simpson, Daniel, Lemmy. Taken on by Vickery.
Keep going, keep going.
And the ball is loose. Azam cleared it away off the hands of Simpson. And as a result, it will be a Gloucester line-out.
Yeah.
Now, who do they have in reserve? That man's on the prologue.
No, went backwards off your man.
He'd been cycling for 5 or 6 miles before we put the camera on him, of course. That was the end of a very long cycle for Mike Tyndall, who we assume will be on fairly shortly.
Just important for the players as they
Oh, okay. That's fine.
get ready to come on. The last thing you want to do is come on and not have the blood pumping around your body.
It's way closer than I am.
You
so.
tend to hit a wall very quickly, so you almost want to get yourself completely out of breath and ready, and then have a couple of minutes to recover, and then you'll be put back on.
We're hearing some worrying news of Tim Taylor. He's done some damage to his knee ligament. There's a concern when you hear that type of injury. We'll, I suspect, know a little bit more over the next 24, 48 hours as to its severity, but it is not good news for Tim Taylor or Gloucester. He's got knee ligament problems, and that's the reason for the change.
We'll pray that it's one of his medial or lateral ligaments rather than the... I think it's lateral apparently, which is good news.
Who's here?
Tends to be 6 weeks if it's badly done rather than the 9 months that we get.
Fabulous steal again from Burkett, who is controlling the line-outs at the moment.
That's one. Sideways. Stay there, guys. Stay there.
Simpson to Walder. This is Flutie. He takes the ball on himself. Happy to recycle. Shaw. Ward Smith brought to the ground by Wood. Findell. Penalty's been given for an offside, and well, as great as it is to see Vondel involved, he's barely featured in the last half an hour. The penalty is being conceded.
Knock on.
All about Gloucester's line speed. Sapolo, as soon as the ball came out, he raced out and hit Vondel. He had no room to step or get away. Took his eyes off the ball. Lost it.
Scott Lawson's on, the Scotland hooker. Five Scots in the squad today, replacing a Frenchman. Azam, the 35-year-old, has done his work. And it's one of those games, as Webber's on as well to replace Ward in the middle of the Wasps front row. It's one of those games, Ben, where you suspect the bench will play a significant part, because lungs will be bursting. This will be about fitness if it's as close as this in the final quarter.
Yeah, definitely. Both teams have got some great players on the bench.
Atwood, Robinson, Fuimano Sapolu, all members of that individual score of his in the first half. Betson tries to disrupt things for Wasps. This is the replacement, Lawson. To another Scotsman, another Lawson. Brett Deacon is English. Molinar's waiting as first receiver. Switching with Robinson, who shuffles the ball onto Simpson Daniel.
Guards, thank you. Guards, keep walking, keep walking.
Atwood.
Stay up, stay up.
Taken on by Molinar. Now then, Sharples has Deacon inside, and we've been pulled back for a forward pass, and the debate continues, but to no avail. The ball just drifting a little bit on that north wind that we've been talking about. Now, update from around the country on this fourth weekend of the Aviva Premiership. Bouthers, they have been all match seemingly, still in charge at the Rec. They kicked off 15 minutes ahead of us here in Gloucester. Nick Easter and his try has stretched their lead against Exeter at the Stoop. And at Walford Road, Leicester now have 4 tries. Hamilton, Waldron, Crofton, Tuolangi. Take your pick. Could have been one of either. But the Tuolangi family will be celebrating again this evening, and Leicester have already got their bonus points for the 4 tries, although they got them very early on at Adams Park as well a week ago. Not that it did them any good.
Just back to this game, Nick. In that passage of play, Gloucester had 8 rucks on the trot, and yet Wasps only committed 6 players in total to all 8 rucks. They're really laying off the rucks now and trying to work on their line speed and defence. The old Wasps defence was a real rush defence, but this season they've not been rushing up as much, and that's not been applying as much pressure to the other side's attack. So I expect for the rest of this half that we're going to try and see them apply a lot more pressure and force Gloucester away from the gain line.
Crouch. Touch. Pause. Engage.
Ward Smith. Simpson is almost gone. The tackle needed to be made by Robinson. He's had a busy game, Simpson. Coming back from a hamstring injury, which is never the easiest thing to do. It's been played at a million miles an hour, but he's coming through it well. But the concession of the penalty again against Wasps at the breakdown.
And Austin made the point about Wasps not having as good line speed as usual. Brett Deacon and Gloucester have had fantastic line speed over the last few minutes, and they've got 2 turnovers. Each time they've flown off the line, Wasps have coughed up the ball. Good defence by Deacon.
Andrew is Dixie.
Yes, Dixie.
At my side of the scrum, black tight head with a very short bind.
Yes.
Red one never got a firm grip.
Yes,
his hand went to ground. It wasn't much affecting, but length from the black bind.
Okay, thank you.
Vickery and Wood put on a warning by Paul Dix. This to stretch the lead to 9. With the wind all about the direction, off the posts, and it goes the wrong side from Robinson and Gloucester's point of view.
Just to explain that by the referee, what he's saying is that Vickery's having a very, very short bind, which means Wood's struggling to get his bind up. The reason he's doing that is because the Wasp pack is just starting to creep. Gloucester are definitely getting the upper hand at the scrummage.
Read out again.
And Gisbergen has an age to gather his thoughts. And he gathers the ball outside the 22. Worsley fumbling, but hanging on to it. Where are Wasps going? Gloucester's defence is becoming suffocating, and they've won the ball back. Coming into it with less care than they ought to have done, though. So we will come back for the knock-on. But Gloucester's defence might even be impressing that man at the moment. Charged on a weekly basis with drilling Wasps. And the face won't show it, but he'll be feeling significantly more content than he was this time last weekend.
You all right? Time on, please, Mike. Knock on, Black.
There's people watching and asking why Tom Varndell isn't in the England side all the time. He's a fantastic physical specimen, but his basics of rugby let him down, both mentally. He goes into the breakdown there. He's got to look after that ball. We saw him knock on a pass that was in his hands because a defender was in his face. Do the simple things right, and all the brilliance he's got elsewhere around the field will really pay dividends for his selection.
There's 4 tries already this season. He's top of the Premiership's try-scoring table. He ought to be interesting, Martin Johnson, but he remains out of the England picture.
He's 15.5 stone, Nick, and he's the fastest player in the Premiership. He just needs to open up a can of toughen up mentally and get himself into the game.
He's not even in the Saxon squad. That's how far out of the picture he is.
As discussed previously, Smalley.
It's Paul Dix, the touch judge on the far side, just reiterating his earlier point that he's not entirely happy with Vickery and Wood.
I've already suggested to both teams that I'm going to slow the sequence down. You're leaning on engage, you're both too early. Instead of free kicks, I'm going to start going to penalties. Sort it.
Lawson
Just
will
over
get
here.
the lecture.
As discussed previously, short
He is in the
no.
Saxon squad.
Binding,
Rod Webber
binding.
having
There's your
summer
mark.
toured with the seniors.
Crouch. Touch. Pause. Engage.
A much better scrum from Wasps. They won the hit. It wasn't as good hit on this side of the scrum from Gloucester. They didn't really take it to Wasps, and you can just see the surge as they all drive together. That's the key to scrummaging. Everyone doing the same thing together. You get massive synergy in scrummaging.
Three's got a bind, mate. Three's got a bind. Talk to him, please.
Approaching the hour mark, and
Sit down, please.
Phil Vickery still going strong. There's a loopy throw
Fair ball, mate. Keep going, keep going.
from Rob Webber, who was working hard with England's line-out coach Simon Hardy this week. But that attempt to find Dan Ward-Smith didn't work, and it puts Varndell and Wasps under lots and lots of pressure.
Backwards.
He gets away with the little fumble at the base.
Stay there, stay there. Bandage is over.
Robinson looking for Foymanus Apollo. Flutie was there, and it was picked up by Van Gisbergen. This is Waldock, and this now is Varndell doing what he does better than most. Oh, and Molinard just got his hands there. But still, Wasps have possession. The referee saw a Wasps knock-on coming through, and it'll be lost the ball at the scrum.
We saw complete contrast there, didn't you? On one side of the field, Tom Varndell jumps for an easy high ball, knocks it on, puts Wasps under pressure, and then this is where his pace is worth absolutely huge amounts of money, because if he catches this, he turns the game completely on its head from absolutely nothing.
14
He's such a Jekyll and Hyde player, and I just wish that, you know, for his sake, he's been taken off. Actually, he's been substituted, and I think that highlights because he's been substituted because he's making too many basic mistakes.
Sub, please. Sub.
It's just as we put up the head-to-head with him and Simpson Daniel. This was his last contribution. He's been replaced by Richard Horton on the right wing.
Yeah, I'll give you the mark in a minute.
Wasps are also bringing on Ben Jacobs. He's replacing Dom Waldock. A frustrating afternoon for Tom Varndell reaches its conclusion.
Gentlemen, you
Dan
are too
Ward-Smith
close.
has
Step
gone
up.
as well. Andy Ward
Thank
has
you. Step up,
come
Ross.
on.
There's the mark. Step back.
I don't know if I just seem to go on about Varndell too much, Nick, but I get so frustrated with the immense talent that he's got, and I just feel like he could be one of the best players we've had in this country that can get these little bits right.
You'll notice that Dan Ward-Smith is in fact still with us. It's Joe Worsley who's gone off, and Andy Powell has gone into the number 8 slot. Ward-Smith's moved across.
So I think it's Betson who's gone off and Worsley's gone to 7. There's a complete change. No one's kept their original position in the Wasp back row. The Shed not happy with Horton. Does his foot go into touch? Very close.
Stay there, mate. Stay there.
It's going on about Austin's point. Very similar player, Horton, to Varndell. Very fast, good finisher, but still question marks about the rest of his game.
And a great take by Atwood. Just to confirm, Wasps back row is now Powell, Worsley and Ward-Smith. I did my best to confuse you.
You could see Hamilton just dragging the rest of the Gloucester players with him at the front. That work at the front does so much for a team when they're trying to drive.
Don't block them, Six. Thank you.
Horton took it well as Hazel tried to hunt him down into space. Very, very decent progress. The man who joined from Saracens over the summer. Simpson has almost gone. Simpson for the line. Sharples across, but he's not quick enough. The break initially from Richard Horton, completed by Joe Simpson. What a comeback for Simpson. But now the concern is for the hamstring. The thing that kept him out at the start of the season, the thing that interrupted his England career, but it all came from this break.
And Horton, great open field runner, and the way he stays on his feet through the contact, spinning, just getting that extra few metres, getting Gloucester further on the back foot. Hamilton just given too much to do by Lawson. He drifted off Simpson too early. And a man who's been running around scrummaging, mauling, being asked to make a difficult tackle. He goes a little bit high, but he was always a long way from him. And a good finish by Simpson.
Panic over. Joe Simpson is back on his feet, and Walder looking into the sun and kicking against the wind, but this for the lead. Still impossible to say where this match is going. For the time being, it's going Wasps' way.
You've got a sub just wait there.
Definitely, and no matter how badly Wasps play, they're a team that know how to win games, even when they're not performing how they'd want to be.
That was the reason for the applause. Tyndall is on, and Fuimano Sapolo has taken his leave. One of the earlier replacements, Robinson.
Roll tackler!
Continue to be impressed by Charlie Sharples. Tyndall gets involved for the first time. Wood again busies himself.
We were a little bit critical of Sharples last week because he didn't feed Simpson Daniel, but I think he's had a monumental game today.
9, stay there. Onside. Sorry, mate.
Wilson.
Went forward off red.
Jenkins was interesting himself.
Off red.
And Gloucester may yet pay. Walder, if he can gather the ball. Horton's chasing. And Tyndall, his first meaningful act is to rescue a very precarious situation.
Gloucester very nearly committing suicide, just throwing the ball, trying to keep it alive. Sometimes you just have to accept the fact that you've messed up and take the line out. If you've got no support players behind you, you can't just throw the ball in field.
Time off.
Tyndall having to clear up. Comes out the back door to save the line
Come
out.
on.
And Gloucester in real trouble, and lucky to get away with that. A tackle without the ball.
Burkitt once again. The club for over a decade now, part of all of their 4 Premiership triumphs. Major blow for them and for him when a serious knee injury ended his season last Christmas.
Your man's bound on, more.
And a bunch of, well, I guess we can call them veterans now, who have made their way back from injury, and
Get behind it, thank you.
another reason that Wasps have more hope this time round, and they're still rumbling forward with this latest maul.
Number 1 in front.
Tim Payne obstructing the ball.
You're only meant to
9
have
and
2
5.
stationary mauls before the referee makes you get the ball out. 3 or 4 there, so Payne being done for getting in front and blocking.
Rory Lawson has done his captaincy, and he's being followed as well by Jim Hamilton.
He's had a superb game. Stolen lineouts everywhere, good carrying.
I'm completely shocked by those 2 substitutions. They're 2 best players. He's just taken them off with a point to go. Brian Redpath, this is going to be a real test of whether the coach is making the right decision for the team. Those 2 guys were, as Ben said, monumental in the first half and in the start of the second. And this could be a turning point for Gloucester.
So the tiredness issue. The only reason that you would have thought he might have taken them off, just thought that they had run themselves into the ground, but you're not so sure.
No, I don't think the game's been quick enough, certainly for Rory Lawson, to be that tired.
Important kick. to regain the lead from a long, long way out, but there's no problem with the distance, and the north wind carries it straight between the posts, and the wind is back behind the cherry and white sails.
Wasps peeled off, he was in front, he then grabbed hold of a red guy.
And neither side can get a grip on this game, and Gloucester have their noses ahead again.
Well, just to go back to the substitutions, Gloucester have now taken off the 3 players that had really given them some steel. Hamilton, Lawson was like an extra back rower, and Sapolu,
Don't block red!
who had been making inroads just going straight through the middle.
Stay there, stay there.
Well, we'll see how their replacements bed in.
Play on.
There's a match to be won
Red,
here, and at the
stop,
moment
stop.
it is Gloucester's. Warder to Van Gisbergen.
Keep coming, keep coming.
Robinson
Onside now, mate.
realised it was his for the taking.
Red, don't move, yes, now.
Warder.
Stay.
Somebody who won't be tired.
Yep, there. Just a big step, please, big
One
step.
of the areas that might be
Thank you.
improved by those substitutions is Brown coming on. You can see him there in the middle of the screen, already bossing the troops around, getting them exactly where he wants them.
Black, stop, stop.
Barry to
Four.
Warder.
No, no. Shoot him behind.
Been experienced down the years in that Wasps doing the double against Gloucester. Dave Warder needs to find something now.
No problem. It's outside, outside. Carry back, carry back.
Taken by Vinokola. He's trying to salvage the bonus points at the Medeski a week ago. Robinson flings it wide. Tyndall, little chip through. Play the game in opposition territory.
Good play by Gloucester, setting a good foundation, a drive at the line out to the box kick, which Lemmy really struggled with. Vinokola turned it over.
8 sub.
They've gone from a poor position to putting Wasps under real pressure
18.
deep in Wasps'
Be
half.
careful going in front of the ball.
Now the Gloucester change. Brett Deacon's coming off. Luke Narroway is coming on.
Tom by Black at the front.
Webber and Shaw messing up the line out.
At the front.
And it'll be a Gloucester scrum.
In 15.
Simon Shaw complaining to the referee's assistant.
Knock on Black.
He's being bullied at the front of the line out. I'm not sure. I think he's got every right to stand there just as Shawsey has. And there's a man, if there's a man ever who steps across the line out and gets in the way, it's Simon Shaw.
I thought there had to be a metre gap at the line out, Ben.
Touch. Pause.
It's a metre, half a metre for both sides. I think they're both enclosed.
Under pressure. Under pressure.
It's a very, very big defensive scrum from Wasps. The old man of the hills is still with us. Phil Vickery looks like he might be going
We
all
must
the way
be
for a
aware
full
of the
80.
players at the front. The previous line out, the red player at the front was making contact with the black player.
Okay.
Then there was a push,
Okay,
okay?
I'll stand here, mate, thank you.
That's what Austin was talking about.
Stay there,
Our
Red.
line-out expert, Healy. Oh, Burkitt again. Berry. Walder taken on by Powell. Berry again. Taken on by Jacobs. One of the most consistent players in the Wasps team last season. No one played more games for them. Back up in the shake-up after missing the Leicester game with a hamstring injury. Powell, where's he going? Not sure he knows, so Gloucester's defence aren't likely to, but he's hung on to possession. Fluty's through the gap. Held up by Dave Lewis. Walder back by Van Gisbergen. Lemmy manages to get the ball away before he's shoveled into touch. Ball taken on by Payne.
No, 12, 22 out to get.
It's Wasps straining everything to get the lead back. Into the final 10 minutes.
No! Yes!
They waited a long time to get that ball. Worsley's just standing off. Burkitt to Worsley.
Arrive up, Black, arrive up, thank you.
Berry, Shaw. Held up by Wood. Berry again. It's looking more and more interesting for Wasps. This is Ward Smith. Shaw gathers it in his giant-sized left mitt. Crabbing from left to right, and now they have the penalty.
He's the assist tackle, he's got to let him go.
We hear the interpretation there. Luke Narroway was part of the tackle as it went to ground. He felt he was on his feet, so could legally compete for the ball. But he's got to release first before he does.
Both sides have been conceding penalties in the second half. This threatens to be a very costly one for the home side, though. Eight minutes to go. The lead again changes. Wasps again ahead. Gloucester again the challenge to come from behind.
12!
Even if Narroway felt he was in the right, clearly the referee was shouting hands away 20, and that's where he needs help from the guys around him. Just tap him on the head or on the back and just say, get your hands off.
Yes, that went all the way to the fullback Van Gisbergen.
13, get behind it. Thank you.
Wasps, who have beaten Gloucester on the last 5 occasions, are back in front here, and now it's their turn to try and play for territory.
Just picking up on that Narroway penalty, all sides will have a call that they use when they don't want to compete anymore. I think with England it used to be called dead, and with Leicester it was dead. Now one person shouts that, everyone shouts it, and you no longer compete. That's about trust and trusting your teammates.
And also you can look to make turnovers all over the field, but when you're in front of your own sticks, you've got to be whiter than white. Not give the referee a chance to pin you.
That aerial battle between Atwood and Burkitt has been worth watching for the admission on its own, and Atwood on that occasion winning the sympathy of the referee, and Burkitt has been accused of battling for possession in the air. And they've gone for the penalty, and it's closer to the 10-metre line than halfway, and the pained expression on Richard Burkitt's face is potentially about to get a little bit more pained.
I think Simon Shaw's starting to struggle a bit as well.
Andrews Dixie, be aware with this.
Oh yeah, I'll follow it.
You hesitate to say this might be the winner because the game has swung this way and that for all 74 minutes. But again on the breeze, they like it behind the post, and they had every right to like it. And Gloucester are back ahead again, and there's just over 5 minutes to go, and Nicky Robinson this afternoon is turning himself into a little cherry and white hero.
What a brilliant decision to take Tim Taylor off at half-time.
Touched!
Robinson over the head of Powell. Van Gisbergen imploring the ball to come to heel, which it does with some encouragement. Robinson. It's all about confidence. This is Sharples. Very nearly ran into Dave Lewis. The replacement scrum half now to Robinson. Ooh, a little bit of hesitation, but manages to break 3 tackles until he's eventually hauled down by Ward Smith.
Thanks, Mike. That's your
Vickery
man.
was
Play
involved
on.
as well.
Stay up, thank you.
Lewis kicks. Horton trundles back. Vinacolo shows some interest and then a little bit more interest, and Horton in the end grateful to get the ball away.
Gloucester fans trying to get their players going. It's been some good game management. What they have lost with some of the players that have been taken off is that go forward. There, Luke Narroway was carrying the ball and he started stationary and didn't make a lot of yardage. They need to get that. That's what they've based their performance on all game.
Four minutes to go.
Stay up, Red. Thank you. Onside, mate, onside. Release the ball. Thank you. He's on his feet, no problem. Sorry, mate. Don't block him.
Narroway goes in to make sure the ball comes back. Molinar. Used him
10's out, stay there,
in
thank
that
you.
battering role all afternoon. This is Sharples. Lewis to Narroway. And Pierre Capdeville up in support. Oh, and then the ball was knocked on by Lawson.
Stay down, stay down, stay down.
Charlie
Stay down.
Sharples has gone down with a big blow to the head as well. Austin.
Nick,
Knock on,
this game's
16
been
red,
really
scrum
close so
Wasps.
far, and this
We're
is a
gonna wait
rude
for this.
opportunity, a missed opportunity. Great footwork there from Ricky Flutie to get through. Now all he needs to do is slow down slightly on the pace, allow his support to go past the defensive line. He'll have a simple 2-on-1 on the outside with Waldo. Those opportunities you have to take in these tight matches.
He was a Wasp when they last won the Premiership in 2008 and reacquainting himself with the side again this season.
He really has been on form though on his feet today. He's been very difficult to stop in the midfield, but having said that, I'm not sure he can stop the Gloucester midfield at the game line. We saw with the Fumalo try that he dropped off a tackle, and it's that lack of size that maybe you need a bit more in the modern game in the midfield.
I think when you've got the likes of Tim Molinar firing themselves at you as well, which is what Gloucester have done all day. And it's they who have a precious, potentially precious 2-point lead, and their scrum is looking strong. It's picked up off the back by Powell. Walder, there is Flutie. This is Van Gisbergen running forward with some ambition.
Onside. Yep.
Burkett.
Get off the ball, get off it. Stay down.
Wasps at the moment have a losing bonus point. Sure that would satisfy them on the way
No, 12, no!
back down the M4 though. This is Payne. Again, Burkett on hand.
No, 8, thank you.
Berry, Walder, Powell. And again, just look how few players Gloucester are committing to the breakdown, just waiting
Release! Release!
for Wasps to make the mistake with the ball in hand. Wasps will hope they can go through enough phases to eventually break through the defence. And they've got the penalty into the final 2 minutes. It's a long, long way from the posts, but it is an opportunity to snatch it right at the death for that man.
Just about staying on your feet. It's a big hit from Hazel.
Balls the mark.
I don't think the referee was facing in the right direction when the first hit came in. I don't think he saw the first hit and what Hazel did. I think that's a tough call.
He's got that wrong for me, the referee. Hazel's epitomised Gloucester's effort today with his passion.
this for the match. Oh, how close was that? Just short, and there's 60 seconds to go. And Gloucester are now so close they can touch it. Here's the penalty.
Hit by Hazel. The referee's out of shot, but I don't think he's watching. He stays on his feet, he lets go of the ball, and then he picks it up. And once he's got control of it, he's tackled. Nothing wrong with that, Andy Hazel. Fantastic play. And I think the referee's blushes have been spared just by the strength of half a metre's distance.
Horton to Walder to Van Gisbergen. One last throw of the dice. Berry to Walder. This is Lemmy. Powell's the man outside. Outstretched hand with Burkett. Time's up. Final play of the match. What a fabulous game, and there's still life in it perhaps with Jacobs. Ball's been lost forward. There's the game, there's the roar, there's what a win does for you. It promises to be a good night in Gloucester.
Well, it's just what the whole place has needed. The fans have played their part today. They've been buoyed by a performance of great character by Gloucester. Back to the old traditional Kingsholm performances. Forwards led early on. And there's been some dynamic performances by some of the backs as well.
Yeah, I think the key to this game was the Shed asked for more passion, and they got more passion from the players. They got more intensity, they got more pace, and they were a lot more together as a side, and they've come out probably just on top as deserved winners.
That was one of the significant changes at half-time. Tim Taylor's injury, Nicky Robinson came on, he kicked his goals. No try today for Leslie Vinacolo, but the smile is significantly bigger than it was a week ago. Oh, goodness me, how they needed that. But how close Wasps were to snatching it at the end as well. They'll go away with the 1 point for finishing within 7 points. And that man emptied the tank as well again today. Perhaps 2 England players of the autumn, of the Six Nations. Will we see them together in white? Tyndall and Flutie. Austin shaking his head.
I think Flutie was asking Tims why he'd been dropped, to be perfectly honest.
And what else has been happening around the country? A win here at Kingsholm for the home team. What about down at the Rec? Big win for the home team against Sale, and they've recovered well from the defeat at Franklin's Gardens a week ago. Bonus point win for them, all 5 points. Exeter, though, not being disgraced at the Stoop, but the Quins look as if they're now in charge, and another try for Tuilangi. Tigers have 5 points. They're on their way to a 5-point win against Leeds and their old muckers, Neil Back and Andy Key. Newcastle against London Irish is the tea time kickoff. Saracens against Northampton here on ESPN HD tomorrow afternoon. So this is how the table looks as it stands, and Bath have gone top. Remember, the Saints are playing tomorrow, so they will have the opportunity. But Gloucester, how about that? 5th place. They'll be cutting that table out and putting it on their fridges in Gloucester next week. They're up to 5th, and all of a sudden life in an oval sense seems so much pleasanter. They've won it, and we can go down to Sarah.
Thanks, Nick. Well, Nicky, it was an exciting game. It was nail-biting, but you really stepped up there second half.
Yeah, it seems to be the trend this year at Kingsholm. Obviously, we were hoping to get a bit of a better performance today, and the times that we're going to half-time, we felt pretty good going to the second half, but we just couldn't quite get our game together. A few penalties at scrum just stopped us getting any good possession.
And after starting the game on the bench, how happy are you with your own personal performance there in the second 40?
Yeah, obviously pleased to get a couple of kicks. It was nice that we got in the same spot as well, but obviously just pleased to get the win. Obviously now we're 1-2, lost 2. If you're 1 and 3, then obviously you're kind of chasing the game a bit like we were last year. So obviously it's massive for us to get a win. Wasps were on a high after their performance last week, so just really pleased to get that win.
Yeah, and how important is this victory, not only for points on the board, but to install a bit of confidence and self-belief back in the team?
Yeah, of course, that's what we need to keep building. And so we thought we might have done that after Leeds, after that win there, and there was some good stuff against London Irish last week as well, but we just haven't quite got the confidence yet. And obviously the season's it's a long old road, so obviously we can keep building and keep picking up a few wins, which would be nice.
Thanks, Nicky. Well played.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
It must already seem like a long old season for Nicky Robinson. The disappointment at Exeter on the opening day. No disappointment today. Stay with us for Durders and the gang and all the reaction to come.